So what was that one, Grandpa? You said on that.
So the first inspection of the buses coming in was from the Department of Agriculture agents checking for any quarantined fruit or vegetables. So when they had completed their inspection, then I boarded the bus to look for characters that the FBI was interested in. So no one could get off of that bus until the ag inspectors were through, and then I came on board the bus. Then I had all these advanced reports of who to look for. So the bus wasn't cleared until I'd made my inspection. So some of the most dangerous criminals in the country could have been on the bus.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And they were armed. So they took away our 45s because that didn't look good to the tourism business. And the AAA didn't want people frightened by armed officers on the bus.
Well, you had that incident where he was also the DMV drive giving tests for DMV.
Yeah.
So he had some interesting experiences where you had that one kid that came in and he was from the gangster family, and he had to give a driving test to this young kid. You want to tell that story?
Mm-hmm.
What? Tell her what happened on that.
We had to give driving tests to all those that lived out on the desert at the time.
You had one of the guys was a gangster.
Mm-hmm.
You had a gangster kid that you had to give a driving test to.
You know.
So, can you tell her what happened on that?
I had some wild drives, I can tell you.
Well, did that one kid come in and say that his father was killed and put in the back of the trunk of the car, and now it was his car?
Uh-huh.
So it was like one of the gangsters. So who was it? It was one of the gangsters down there, and he had just gotten killed. And anyway, the kid was pretty nonchalant about it, wasn't he?
No, that was a kid that lives in Santa Rosa. Nick Dijon. His father was sent out to Santa Rosa by a New Jersey gang, and the trip was out here to look into buying there's a roadhouse restaurant up in the hills, and he had I don't know several $1 million to pay the current owners, and instead of buying the place, he bought it for himself. So that's one thing you don't do in a gang. You don't turn against your gang.
Remember that. Don't do that.
So what they did, the gang had to give the usual punishment, and that was death. So they invited him to a party in San Francisco, and to give him praise, he thought. But he turned on his own gang, so he should have been smart enough to realize that punishment is death. So they buttered him up and invited him to a special party dinner in San Francisco. And he fell for it. So partway through the banquet, one of the gang members that was seated next to him got up and said, well, a toast to this guy by name. And so they got up and they were toasting him, had their glasses raised. Well, he just threw a rubber band around his neck. Killed him right in front of everybody. So then he throws the guy over his shoulder, and as they're going out to the door, he winks to the person on guarding out the front, and he says, too much. So they winked and they went by him. They went out to his car, threw the trunk lid up, dumped him in there, slammed their lids down. And so when he got out as far as the river, he threw the body in the river.
Of the Russian River?
Yeah. So I had a driving test set up for the son, who was just 16, and to show you how these people are, as we pulled away, he says, that's where they found my dad, motioning to the trunk, as if, nothing but a piece of junk was back there.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
And so later on, the Santa Rosa police had to put a watch on him, and he was parking the same car that his dad was in the trunk, picking up high school girls.
So did you pass him on the driving test?
Well, he's a gangster. What do you do?
Yeah, what do you You didn't fail him then, huh?
My life or anybody's life meant nothing to him.
Was he a pretty good driver?
Well, he passed the test.
Yeah.
You can be sure he passed the test. So I had advanced information on almost everybody that came to California, who they were, what they were doing, and so